Hello, this is Dave Richardson. In 1968, I was a Jolly Green helicopter rescue pilot flying out of NKP, Thailand. This video, The Rescue of Sandy 05, is the third video I have produced under the heading Vietnam Air Rescues and is the story of the sixth rescue I performed. Sandy was the call sign for the World War II era prop-driven A-1 fighters that accompanied the rescue helicopters for protection. They were used instead of jets for three very good reasons. First, they flew slow enough that the helicopters could keep up with them. Second, they had long endurance. And third, they carried an impressive load of ordnance. This rescue came about through the back door, so to speak. I was the LO, or rescue helicopter, attempting to rescue someone else. Sandy 05 was one of the A-1s assigned to protect me. Due to heavy ground fire, we were having trouble getting to the survivor. Finally, it was thought that enough of the guns had been knocked out, and I was called upon to attempt the rescue. Following established procedure, two of the Sandys streaked ahead for a final check before I was committed. Unfortunately, enough of the guns had not been knocked out, and Sandy 05 was shot down. He managed to zoom up just enough before ejecting that his chute was carried out of the valley where the original survivor had landed. Realizing that the area was too hot, the original rescue attempt was immediately called off, but the question arose, could I pick up the Sandy pilot? I told him I would give it a try, and we headed in. I managed to work my way around the valley where the original survivor was and got in position over Sandy. There was light ground fire, but my main concern was that the survivor was not moving. Was it possible he was unconscious or badly injured? Due to the guns in the area, I did not want to put my PJ down unless it was absolutely necessary, as this complicated and lengthened the time spent in the rescue. Finally, we saw him stirring around and began lowering the hoist. What you will see next is actual combat footage of this rescue. This is Jolly beginning the run into the survivor. Next you will see Sandy, who's accompanying me. Notice the cloud layers we're getting into. Now Sandy goes down to make his final check, from which he doesn't return. The film then jumps to the helicopter interior. The crew chief attaches the forest penetrator and begins lowering the hoist, which disappears into the jungle, threading its way between the trees. Notice the denseness of the jungle and our total inability to see the ground. I hold my hover as the rotor wash blows the trees around. It seems to be taking forever. The hoist has reached the ground. What's taking so long? Come on, we're getting shot at. We wait and wait. Should I put the PJ down? No, let's give it a little bit more time. The crew chief gets a signal and begins bringing the survivor up, although he's not visible from the helicopter. We wait and wait as the hoist slowly ascends. It is nerve-wracking to just sit there while people are shooting at us, but we have no choice. You can now just make out the survivor as he is drawn up to the helicopter. Slowly, the hoist brings him up. He begins to slow spin due to the rotor wash. This, plus the danger of bouncing off trees, is why a survivor had to be strapped on the penetrator, not just sitting on it. Although not visible in this film, the technique for getting the survivor inside the helicopter involved pushing him out away from the helicopter and then reversing the hoist on the inward swing so enough cable is loosened that he can be drawn inside. When the survivor is inside on the cabin floor, the crew chief and PG have to unhook and extricate him from the forest penetrator. You can see them moving it aside. Once this has been accomplished, the PJ checks the survivor for injuries. The survivor is telling them he has injuries to one leg but is otherwise okay. He looks relieved. Since he's having difficulties, the crew chief and PJ help him to the litter at the side of the cabin where he can rest. In the meantime, I pulled full power and we're heading out of the area back toward home base. A next important step is to get some liquid in him. This and a blanket to cover him will help avoid shock, which is always a worry for someone who's undergone a traumatic experience. As we head for home, the PJ begins treating the survivor's injured leg. This is a still shot of the survivor being helped from the helicopter after our return to home base. And here I am, being congratulated following the rescue. This is a shot of my crew and the survivor after the fact. And here you see a little sentiment from 1968. I've written a book about my experiences. If you're interested in viewing more photos or reading about my other rescues, I invite you to visit me at vnrescues.com.